Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. I'm going to hesitate about going any further on this broadcast until I make sure that we are live here on YouTube. I am not picking it up on my monitor here, but I want to make sure we are live here on YouTube before I say anything else. I have this same issue almost every day as I come on the program. But again, I'm waiting for YouTube to acknowledge that we're on the air, and I believe we just got that acknowledgement. I want to welcome everybody here to our program tonight. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ron Tyler. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. I want to welcome everybody here. Sheila Dean is the first one here. Says, hey, thank you for being here, Sheila. We appreciate you here. I left some messages on our Facebook Messenger channels that we're going on the air so people would understand we're here. Demon Catman just arrived from the east of England. He made the long trek over the pond, and he's here from the east of England. Catherine Sigerson from Canada is here. Sheila Dean says, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us, and I appreciate that, and I welcome that. I want to share this with you. The things we have for you to, especially tonight, are very important. Okay, I've been planning this program since early this morning. I've got a lot of information here. I want to share it with you. And that's exactly what I plan on doing. Okay? Maxine Simoli's here. Catherine Sigerson. Demon Catman. David Ann is here. Save your breath and stop talking. Oh, really? Save my breath, huh? Well, apparently, you don't want to be here. So, I'm going to fix it so you're not here. Not a problem. I can do that for you. You're gone. Save my breath and stop talking, huh? Demon Catman says, Ron, hold the other way. Right now I can't do that because I've already committed to this format. I will try that again tomorrow. But I appreciate, Dean, what you're saying. Ray Spurs here. James Barek is here. Thank you, James, for being here. Texas Ladies here and Pickering's here. We all appreciate you for your work and love to all here. I appreciate that so much. Folks, we are going to talk about earthquakes tonight. I'm going to start this broadcast out talking about earthquakes tonight. Now, what earthquakes have happened? Let me point earthquakes out really quickly here. Okay? The first one I want to talk about is over just off the coast of California. Off the coast of California here. This is way off the coast. This is off the extended portion of the Gorda Escarpment. Okay? Again, where is the Gorda Escarpment? It starts right over here at the Triple Junction. Over here, where you see my cursor, this is the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault starts here in Northern California, and it runs down through the entire state of California, as you can see in this diagram here. What else do we have here? We have the Gorda Escarpment here. We have the Cascadia subduction zone here. We're going to talk about earthquakes on the subduction zone in just a few minutes. But first I want to start down here in the south part in Northern California. Over here on the Gorda Escarpment, this is a 2.7 earthquake. A 2.7 earthquake west of the Cascadia subduction zone on the Gorda Escarpment. But we have one even further west. This is still on the Gorda Escarpment. This is a 4.0 earthquake. USGS has this listed as a 3.9 because USGS frequently lies to us and tells us something is anything but a 0.9 I upgrade it to a 4.0. This is at least a 4.0 earthquake right here. Okay? Now, I'm going to back this out. I want to show you how far the Gorda Escarpment goes out. Again, it starts right here at the triple junction with the Cascadia subduction zone and the San Andreas Fault. The Gorda Escarpment, for all intents and purposes, in regards to the Cascadia subduction earthquake, ends right here. It ends right here at the Gorda Ridge. However, the Gorda Escarpment goes all the way out here, all the way out through the Central Pacific. It continues over here. Then it continues northwest over here. It continues northwest over here until it gets up here to the Kamchatka Peninsula. So the Gorda Escarpment extends up here to the Kamchatka Peninsula. Okay? It starts over here by the at the triple junction with the San Andreas Fault and the Cascadia subduction zone. We have a 4.0 earthquake west of the Gorda Ridge out here on the Gorda Escarpment here, right here. We have a 4.0 here. Now, I wanted to show you this because this is all part of the Cascadia subduction zone region. This is all part of the Cascadia subduction zone region. Now, they are also not showing all the earthquakes here. They're absolutely not showing all the earthquakes here. Now, why do I say that? Because up here at the Queen Charlotte Island here, this is Queen Charlotte Island, British Columbia. We have 3 earthquakes right here. 3 earthquakes here. Notice there are no other earthquakes listed here other than those down south in the Cascadia subduction zone region. There are earthquakes here. Now I'm going to turn this back to where you see me. Okay? I'm going to my other device to show you these earthquakes. This is important. This is very important because the USGS isn't showing them to us, but the European agency is. I'm going to what they call the My Earthquake app. It's on my other device. My earthquake app is the European agency showing us earthquakes. Again, I'm going up here to Queen Charlotte Island. You see 3 earthquakes here. The one furthest to the north is the largest or is not the largest earthquake. It's just a 1.0 tremor. This is a 1.0 tremor here. Okay? It's just off of Dajing Guides, British Columbia at Queen Charlotte Island. The next one further south is just off the coast of Queen Charlotte Island. This is a 2.6 minor earthquake. 2.6 minor earthquake. Right next to it, just south of there, is a 1.51 tremor. So we've had 2 tremors here, and we've had a 2.67 earthquake. Deborah says, oh, this is the Juana Fuca. No, it's the Juana Fuca. Juana. The Juan de Fuca. Juan. Okay? Juan de Defuca. Juan de Fuca Fault. Okay? And no, the Juan de Fuca Fault is not causing any problems. The Juan de Fuca Fault is not causing any of the problems. However, we do have 3 earthquakes up here at Queen Charlotte Island. These earthquakes are part of the Cascadia subduction zone. The Cascadia subduction zone runs up here to Queen Charlotte Island. But notice this. The Queen Charlotte or not the Queen Charlotte, the Cascadia subduction zone also continues running south all the way down to northern California. This is the Juan de Fuca Fault here. This is the Juan de Fuca Fault here. You know it because it is a zigzag fault. It is a zigzag fault. That zigzag fault continues past Washington. Washington is right over here. The Juan de Fuca Fault runs from just south of the Queen Charlotte Island all the way down south down here. It continues running south. I want to show you what's going on. The Juan de Fuca Fault continues running south until it gets over towards Central Oregon. This is also the Juan de Fuca Fault all the way down here. It intersects with the Blanco Fracture Zone. This is the Blanco Fracture Zone right here. Okay, the Blanco Fracture Zone. South of the Blanco Fracture Zone, we have the Gorda Ridge here. The Gorda Ridge here runs from northeastern part of the Pacific here, down here to the northeastern part of the Pacific here. It intersects with the Gorda Escarpment here. And you notice we have this earthquake here, and further out to sea, we have this 4.0 here. 4.0 earthquake there. Okay? But that's not all, folks. There's more. Over in northern Washington, Lowfall, Washington, Lofall, Washington, right here. This is in the Puget Sound area. The Puget Sound area, guys, guess what? We have another earthquake. We have another earthquake. That earthquake is a 2.0 minor quake. South of there, also in the Puget Sound region, Artondale, Washington. Artondale, Washington. This is a 2.48 minor earthquake here. We go further south, over towards Mount Rainier. We have a 0.34 northwest of Mount Rainier in the foothills of Mount Rainier. We also have a 0.62 just to the southwest of Mount Rainier. Two earthquakes right here, right next to Mount Rainier. These two earthquakes right next to, in the western foothills of Mount Rainier right here. And that's all they're showing. But they're still not showing all of the earthquakes here at Mount Rainier. There are at least two 3.0 plus earthquakes here at Mount Rainier, as well as probably 24 tremors. 24 1.0 and to 1.9 tremors. At least two 3.0 earthquakes and a half a dozen 2.0, 2.9 earthquakes here at Mount Rainier. A lot of earthquakes here at Mount Rainier, and they're still not showing it all. But we come down here to Mount St. Helens. And again, the European agency's not even showing us all the earthquakes. But USGS is not showing any. The United States Geological Survey is not showing any. NCWQ, Rebecca, just gave us another $1 super chat. Thank you very much, Rebecca. God bless you for that. I gave you an EMA sticker on your super chat, and I also gave you a thumbs up as well. Thank you so much for that. Okay? Tim Gibson's here in the chat saying July 7th is 90 days after the eclipse, big earthquake coming soon. Now, Tim, I don't believe that the eclipse has anything to do with the big earthquake coming soon. However, I will agree with you that there is a big earthquake coming very soon. I guarantee you it's coming. We keep talking about it. We talked about it last night. We've been talking about it for probably 3 weeks now. Well, actually, it's been longer than that. We've been talking about it for months. Okay? We've been talking about it for a long time. Okay, back to the Mount St. Helens area. Mount St. Helens. My app froze here at Mount St. Helens. Here at Mount St. Helens, the European agency is saying we have a minus 0.23 microquake. Minus 0.23 microquake at Mount St. Helens. Let me assure you, this is not a minus number. Minus numbers indicate above sea level. Above sea level. Well, guess what, folks? It's not above sea level. I can guarantee it. I can guarantee it. Okay? This is not a minus number. USGS may have this as a minus number. The Europeans have this as a minus number, but it is not above sea level. This is deep inside the volcano. 3.7 miles deep. 3.7 or 3.7 miles deep. Over almost 4 miles deep. Okay? It's not above sea level. It's down deep inside the volcano. It's down inside the volcanic chamber of Mount St. Helens. Okay? Rebecca's asking us to put that dollar into our disaster relief fund, and that's exactly what we will do. Now, just so you know, okay? Well, I've got you guys here. If you give me a super chat, I will only get 60% of that money. And I don't get it until the 21st of any given month. YouTube holds on to that money until the 21st. And I get 60% of it. If you send the money to PayPal, if you give me money in PayPal, I get it. I get 99% of it, and I get it immediately. And I really appreciate that. If you send it over to my post office box, we get it immediately when the mail comes. Okay? The post office box is 104 North Green Street, box 105, Morganton, North Carolina, 28655. I appreciate everyone who contributes to our program. I really do. And yes, we need those contributions so we can stay on the air. Anyway, these are all the earthquakes that the European agency is saying hit in Washington and Oregon. These are in Washington today. They're not talking here about Mount Hood. They're not talking about Sisters Volcano. They're not talking about Crater Lake. They're not talking about any of the other volcanoes here in Oregon. Why not? All of these volcanoes have earthquakes. All of these volcanoes are very important. All these volcanoes are very active. They're very active here. Okay? I want everybody to realize it. The European agency doesn't have all the volcanic information, but I can get it. I'm not going to talk about volcanoes in Washington, Oregon, or California tonight. I am going to mention, however, quote unquote, Mount Etna over in Italy. Mount Etna in southwestern Italy is erupting. The lava is flowing down the side of the volcano. Stromboli volcano, also in that same area, is also erupting. Okay? Stromboli volcano is also erupting. Now, Brokefish N is here in the chat. He's one of my mods here. and he's also got his own fire channel. His fire channel specifically details wildfires in the western United States, mostly in Oregon, Washington, and California. He's talking about the Thompson Fire, Cherokee Road, Thompson Flat Road, Oroville, Butte County, California. There's a fire there, a major wildland fire. Okay? When Brokefish N comes on the channel and tells us that, it's serious. It's very serious. Okay? Wildfire, Thompson Fire, Cherokee Road, cross of Thompson Flat Road, Oroville, Butte County, California. That's very serious. That is very, very serious. And I appreciate Brokefish telling us about it. California is going to have its share of wildfires, and they already have. Oregon and Washington are also going to have their share of wildfires this year. And we haven't even begun to fight yet. Okay? It's happening. Brokefish is putting information in our chat so everybody will know about it, and I'm going to repeat it. There is an evacuation order, a level 3 evacuation order. Okay? He's listed the evacuation orders, and you can go to the Oroville site to find the evacuation order to find out specific information. Okay? Again, this is a major wildfire. A major wildfire in the Oroville, Butte, California area. Oroville County, Butte County, California. A big deal. Okay? Anyway, getting back to what we're talking about. Earthquakes. Notice here in Northern California here, 100 miles north of San Francisco. This is, again, is the geysers area. The geysers geothermal power plant here. Sonoma County, California. 20 plus earthquakes here every day. Anywhere between 20 to 50 earthquakes here in the geysers facility here every day. This is because this facility has drilled into a volcano. This geothermal facility has drilled into a volcano just north of the geysers, the Clear Lake volcano. As a result, when seismic energy finds these man-made drill points, it causes earthquakes. It causes earthquakes. It causes those man-made drill points to fracture. Rock fracturing. It is just like oil and gas fracking operations in Texas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and Kansas. Every time seismic energy finds these man-made drill points, it fractures the rock, causing earth movement. Earthquakes over here in the geysers area, 100 miles north of San Francisco here. The European agency is not detailing any earthquakes here in San Francisco, but there are minor earthquakes and tremors here in San Francisco area. Just be advised. Just be advised. Earthquakes are also continuing in Southern California. Look at this. Look at all these earthquakes in Southern California. Literally all over the map. Again, I want to detail this. You need to be very aware of these earthquakes. Now, Rob52 and I both discussed these earthquakes earlier. Okay, what is going on? Folks, I wouldn't show this to you if it wasn't important. There are probably 400 to 500 earthquakes, maybe more, in Southern California. Sleeping Volcano says we're being buffered. Not surprising, because USGS and these other agencies don't want this information getting out. Southern California, anywhere from Los Angeles down south to San Diego and out east to Arizona is about to have a major earthquake on the San Andreas Fault. On the San Andreas Fault. That is why we've seen so many earthquakes in Southern California. That's what's going on. And everybody needs to know about it. I don't put this information out lightly, but I want to be specific. I want everybody to know what's happening. This is urgent. Southern California is going to have a major earthquake, and it's going to happen very soon. Demon Catman was asking where in Southern California on the San Andreas Fault. It's going to happen. Over in Los Angeles area, Camarillo, California today had a 3.2 small earthquake. 3.2 doesn't sound much. It doesn't sound very big. But guess what? That is just a start. They are not reporting any other small to moderate earthquakes in Southern California. They don't want to show them to us. But I'm telling you, there are minor earthquakes, 2.0, 2.9. Yes, there's plenty of tremors as well. But there are also small 3.0, 3.9 earthquakes and 4.0 to 4.9 earthquakes in Southern California today. They are just not showing them on the map. They are not showing them on the map. But I am putting out the warning right now. Everybody needs to be aware of what is going on. If you, well, it doesn't matter whether you live in Southern California or not. You may have family there. You may have friends there. The fact of the matter is, we're going to have a major earthquake on the San Andreas Fault. And it's going to be felt over a large area. Regardless of whether it happens in Los Angeles or further south over in the Imperial Valley, or even just south of the Imperial Valley along the border area of Mexico. The last time we had a major earthquake on the San Andreas Fault that happened at the border area of Mexico and the United States. Mexicali and Calexico, what they call Guadalupe, Victoria, Mexico. It was a 7.1 earthquake on April 3rd, 2010. It's about to happen again. Christine is here in the chat saying Long Beach Southways. Long Beach is getting hit. Long Beach is getting hit with 2.0 minor earthquakes, 2.5 minor earthquakes, and 3.0 earthquakes in Long Beach. Anaheim is getting hit with 2.0, 2.5 earthquakes all day long. Last week I showed you that. But it happens not just once a week, but every day in Los Angeles. Every day in Los Angeles. Okay? It's happening now. There's someone here in the chat that had their message removed about my health. My health is pretty much fine. Yes, I have this device here to help me breathe. I was injured during my law enforcement career. And as a result, my diaphragm on my right side, just beneath my right lung, is paralyzed. So I don't get much oxygen transfer out of my right lung. That is why I have supplementary oxygen. Sometimes I can take it off. And some of you have actually seen me without oxygen. Let me try it. It might work for me tonight. I go without oxygen quite a bit when I'm sitting down not doing anything. But folks, guess what? Sometimes I need it. That's why I have it on. Now, Christine says her family is in Yorba Linda and Orange County area of Los Angeles County too. I understand that. I have friends in Los Angeles. Richard Milhouse Nixon, who was President of the United States from 1968 to 1974, was born in Yorba Linda. I spent a great deal of time in Los Angeles. I'm very familiar with all of Los Angeles County and south of there, and all of San Diego County. I used to live in San Diego. I am familiar with Imperial County because I spent a great deal of time there, and I have friends there as well. I have a son and an ex-wife and a lot of friends who worked with me in law enforcement. My son didn't work with me, but I have a lot of friends in law enforcement. My son still lives there in San Diego County. They're going to get hit. I can promise you they're going to get hit. Pam Miller's here in the chat saying she lived in Yorba Linda during high school years. A lot of people did. We have a lot of friends there. My buddy Sage Pup lives over in Santa Barbara. Sage Pup is a very dear friend of mine. I appreciate all of you that live in that area. Ken Staley says he has friends in San Gabriel Valley, Glendora, California. So do I. That area is about to get smacked around by a very strong earthquake. Let me flip on the light here. Just a second. I noticed the light was getting a little bit dim here. Now it's after June, okay? It's after the summer solstice started. We're losing a few seconds every day from our time element. And as a result, it gets a little bit darker very slowly now. Before, in June, actually in May, we were getting a lot of light. And I could probably do this broadcast until we end it without turning the light on. But now I've turned the light on again. Now, Sage Pup says it's been a very bad year for him. And he's sorry about his absence. Sage Pup, I don't know whether he wants me to tell you all about his health, but he's a very dear friend of mine. He's been very specific with me about how he's doing. We probably ought to pray for Sage Pup and also his girlfriend. We appreciate them so much. Christine is asking, what about Edwards Air Force Base or California City? Edwards is going to feel that earthquake as well. Edwards Air Force Base is in a dry lake bed area out there in the desert of California. They're also going to feel that earthquake. Promise you. Everybody in Southern California, the wide area, is going to feel it. All the way down to the Mexican border. And in fact, if it hits at the Mexican border, everybody north of there is going to feel it. Last time in 2010, when we had a 7.1 earthquake hit, it was felt all the way up into North Los Angeles County and all the way out into the desert area. I'm just giving you all a warning. I'm giving you a warning. Deborah Reese is here, LA, Anaheim, San Diego family, and friends. Yes, yikes. You need to tell them about what we're telling you. You need to tell everybody about what we're telling you. You need to share this information. You need to share our program with everybody, because this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Now, tomorrow and Thursday, we're going to talk specifically about earthquakes in California. On Thursday, I'm going to talk more about the New Madrid Fault. I'm also going to show you earthquakes around the world. Tonight, I'm not going into earthquakes around the world, but I'm going to tell you this. There are probably 600 or 700 earthquakes in Europe. 600 to 700 earthquakes in the Middle East and Europe. I'm talking about Iran, Iraq area. I'm talking about from Iran, Iraq, all the way over to Scandinavia. all the way over to Scandinavia and over to Spain. Literally earthquakes all over Europe. And USGS is not saying one darn word about it. Not one word. That's what's so sad. They don't give a flying rat's butt about anybody. And I've talked about this before. I've talked significantly about it before. I just want to put up the warning now that this is going to happen. Sleeping Volcano has family in Crestline. I have friends there. San Bernardino, Anaheim. I have friends all over that area. Literally. Debarista's San Pedro loading dock of seafood and fruits. Friend worked that every day. My wife was born in San Pedro. She has a great deal of friends in San Pedro and over in, what's it called? I can't remember the town just east of there. That's a pretty good sized town there. I can't remember the name of it. Rancho Palos Verdes. Rancho Palos Verdes. She has a great deal of friends over there. Okay? It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Debarista's ring, San Francisco is turning into a ghost area. San Francisco is going to get hit as well. And when the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake hits up in northern Washington, guess what? It's going to trigger the entire San Andreas Fault. It will trigger this entire San Andreas Fault, and down in Oregon, down in San Francisco. All of you people there are going to feel a 9.0 earthquake. The Cascadia earthquake is going to be a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake. The transfer of energy is going to go all the way down to northern Mexico. All the way down into northern Mexico. It's going to be felt all the way up into Alaska. After that earthquake first hits, there's going to be an amount of time, about 15 or 20 minutes. After that earthquake hits, there will be a rushing of water away from the coastline. That rushing of water away from the coastline is going to cause a tsunami 15 or 20 minutes after that earthquake hits. The tsunami is going to hit all the way over into Japan. That tsunami is also going to be hit over in Alaska. That tsunami is going to be hit over in Canada, up and down the entire west coast of North America. We're going to see a 50-foot to 150-foot wall of water up and down the entire coastline. Up and down the entire coastline. It's going to happen. I promise you, it will happen. What the earthquake doesn't tear down initially, the tsunami will. And then there will be aftershocks as well. Aftershocks up and down the coastline from Alaska south to Mexico. The reason I say there's going to be a tsunami over in Japan as a result of that Cascadia subduction zone earthquake, last time it happened over 234 years ago, Japan had a tsunami. The Japanese people kept great records. They kept great records. That's why we know when the earthquake hit in Washington State. And scientists have now found remnants of that earthquake up and down the entire west coast of North America. Canada, Washington, Oregon, and California. We know it's going to happen again. We are already over 34 years overdue. It's going to happen again. I'm just putting up a warning about it now. We've been talking about it now for 4.5 years. I don't believe we have much more than another 5 years before it happens. The agencies are not being honest with the number of earthquakes and the strength of the earthquakes that are happening now. If they were honest, we would see probably hundreds of people leaving the coastline of Alaska, Washington, Oregon, and California. No one would want to be around the western side of the United States and Canada, knowing that that earthquake is going to hit, knowing that there's going to be a tsunami afterwards. That is why the USBS, the United States Geological Survey, and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network are not talking about it. They don't want anybody to know what's happening. They don't want anybody to know what's happening. Okay? Now, someone just mentioned the governor of California. I have absolutely no respect for him at all. Governor Newsom. I call him Governor Newsom. NEWSCUM. I have very little respect for him at all. Why? Because he continues to lie to the public. He continues to tax and spend California into oblivion. He has allowed illegal immigrants to come into California and destroy the state. He continues to allow immigrants to come in and occupy hotel rooms and other homes and put our veterans out on the street. Put our veterans out on the street. Over in Los Angeles, guys, in case you haven't been there, go onto the internet and look what is happening in Los Angeles in terms of homeless population. People are living on the streets. People are defecating on the sidewalks and the streets. In some areas of Los Angeles, you have to hold your breath when you're walking down the sidewalk, or completely stay out of the area. Why? So you can, one, avoid the stench, and two, so you can avoid getting diseases prompted by the homeless in California. It's not just the veterans, it's also some of the illegal immigrants. And I'm going to call a spade a spade. I am going to call them illegal, because that is exactly what they are. That is exactly what they are. They are illegal. They should never have been allowed to come in here to the United States. Our president, Joseph Biden, is responsible for all of these illegals here in the U.S. Why? Why did he bring them in? So the Democrat Communist Party here in the United States of America could stay in power. The Democrat Communist Party wanted those people in so they would hopefully vote and keep the Democrats in power. This is true. Newsom, the governor of California today, made a statement saying he is making it illegal for anyone to vote for anybody but him. Newsom said that. He is making a law now, I guess an executive order from the governor's office, that it is illegal for anybody to vote for anyone but Newsom. Those were his words out of his mouth today. I saw it. I saw it. Now, I want to tell you some other things that are going to be very distressing to you. Biden has his wife trying to keep him in office. You saw what happened last week when Biden went toe-to-toe with President Trump in the debate in Georgia. Biden was literally or could have literally been laughed off stage. He could hardly answer any question at all. He stumbled. He has dementia. The man has dementia. He's not able to even put more than 5 or 6 words together to make any kind of sense about anything. After the debate, Jill Biden, his wife, took him backstage to meet with supporters. When she had him backstage, he stood there with a blank look on his face, while Jill Biden, his wife, said, "Oh, he answered every question. He answered every question," and she built him up in front of those voters. Joe Biden didn't even utter a word because he couldn't. It's called elder abuse. Elder abuse. This past weekend, while he was over at Camp David, he was summoned to Camp David by former President Obama, Michelle Obama, and some other presidential advisors at Camp David, urging Biden to back out of the election. It's very possible now that the Democrats will not put Biden up on the ticket come the Democrat National Convention. It's highly likely that the Democrat Communist Party will put somebody else up. This past weekend, Obama was heard quoting this: "Michelle Obama will run." Earlier, just a few months ago, Michelle said she did not want to run. But her husband, Obama, wants Michelle to run for president because Joe Biden can't do it. Something else is very troubling that happened today. And yes, I will talk about something else just a little while ago. Okay, somebody else here in the chat was talking about it. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Okay? Something else that happened today. Ukraine, using U.S. weapons, attacked Russia. And Putin issued a warning to Biden. Threatening Biden with thermonuclear war. Yeah. This is not the first time Putin has said that. It's not the first time that Putin has said that. Okay? It's unreal. It's not ending. I promise you this is not ending. And there's a lot of other worse news as well. The Democrats want to hold on to the presidency at any cost. They have also been signing these illegal immigrants up to vote. This is nothing new. We've been seeing this for some time. They've been signing illegals up to vote through non-governmental agencies, non-governmental organizations. They call them NGOs. The government of the United States of America, through the Democrat Party, are signing people up to vote that should never have the right to vote. We already have a law on the books that does not allow it. But the United States government under Biden is allowing it. That is why they let anybody that wanted to come across the border. And they're still flooding across the border now. They're still flooding across the border. And Biden today said he was going to shut it down. Are you kidding me? He has no intention of shutting down the border at all. It's not happening. If you hear Biden say anything about shutting down the border, he's lying through his teeth. He's being told what to say. He's reading a teleprompter being told what to say. And half the time he can't even read that where it can be understood. Okay? That's what's going on. Okay? Now, Sleeping Volcano says that Joe Biden is in his basement and they're using a body double. I've understood that as well. And that's very much possible. That is very much possible. It's been talked about in the movies 20 years ago. There was a movie where they did that. Now, is it happening now? I don't know for sure, but it's very possible that they're using a body double. Don Patoga is talking about the draft age. Don Patoga is one of my dearest friends over in Utah. He's a moderator here on our channel. He's talking about draft age people that have come in here to the United States. They're not coming in with families. These draft age people, these young men are anywhere from 18 years old to 40 years old. Some of these people I've even seen on cameras that have been installed at the border coming across the border with high-powered weapons. Military-style high-powered weapons. I've seen them coming across the border. Okay? Our lives are in danger. Our lives as citizens of this United States are in danger. And I'm going to tell you this, if you don't live here in the U.S. and you live somewhere else in the world, your lives are also in danger. What is happening here in the United States is also happening all around the world. Your countries are being invaded. France, Germany, Austria, Belgium, Holland, Spain, Czechoslovakia, Romania, Canada, and Mexico. Your countries are being invaded. These illegal aliens are being flown into Mexico and crossing the U.S. border, going north. They're coming in from China. They're coming in from Russia. They're coming in from over 129 countries around the world. I can guarantee that's what's happening. How can I guarantee it? Because I have law enforcement sources that have picked up their identification cards, their driver's license, their passports at the border. Why? Because they don't want anybody to know who they are. They're dropping their identification cards at the border. And our law enforcement are picking them up. We know that this is happening. We know for a fact that it's happening. And it's happening every day of this week. Every day this week for months and months and months and months and months. For the past 4 years that Biden's been in office. 4 years ago when Biden started the presidency, within the first 24 hours, he wrote up 94 executive orders that invariably canceled everything that Donald Trump had done to secure the border. Opening the border. He had his people unsecure the fences, open gates in the fences, and weld them open. Welded the gates open in the fences so more and more people could come through the border. Fact. It's proven. It's proven. James Solomon is saying in the chat, the sad part is he's not even mad at the president. He is mad at the Communist Democrat Party for letting this poor old man who doesn't even know his name run into the wall and run through the wall. This man in charge doesn't even know his name. He doesn't even know his wife's name. He doesn't know what's going on, even though he caused it. 4 years ago, he may have known what's going on. He may very well have known what's going on, but now he has dementia. He has no clue what's happening. He has no clue what's happening. Now, I've done a lot of talking here. I've said a lot of things, and I stand by those things. I want to make sure everybody realizes it. A few minutes ago, we had over 100 people here watching our program. Now the numbers have dropped down to 85. Why? Because you don't like what I'm saying? I would hope you'd understand. Not just understand, but do something about it with your families. You need to stand up tall. You need to understand, number one, it's happening, and two, do something about it. Write your congressmen, write your senators, and tell them to secure the damn border. Secure the damn border. Congress could do it. They could vote, they could make this president toe the line. But it's not just the Democrats that are doing it. It's what we want to call the uniparty. The uniparty. The Democrats and the Republicans together have caused this mess. The Democrats and the Republicans have caused this mess. We need to send them packing. At this election, I'm asking you to vote these people out. Vote these people out. Now, why? Why am I saying that? I want you to understand what's going on. To very much understand what's happening. It's not just the Democrats. Even Ted Cruz, as strong as he always says he is, and other supposedly strong senators and Republicans in the House, they have not stood by the country. They've not stood by the country's citizens. They've not done anything. They have made this happen. They have allowed this to happen. The Republicans are as guilty as the Democrats. We need to put people in Congress, both the House and the Senate, to turn this off. We need to elect President Trump. And I know some of you are Democrats. I'm sorry. We need to elect a president that will get this job done, to shut down this darn border. We need to shut this border down immediately. And we need to do what President Trump has already said he'd do once he gets into office. To turn the border situation off and deport those illegals that have come into this country. The illegals that have come into this country. Those people who are already U.S. citizens will not be deported. But those people that came in here illegally will be found and deported. Every one of them. And yes, there may be a civil war as a result, because some of these people are terrorists. Some of these people are gang members from Venezuela, MS-13 from Mexico, the dreaded gang members of the world. They will also be gathered up and deported. Now, they may cause problems. They may cause physical problems. But we will remove them from our country. And it won't just be from America. Other countries will also stand up and remove these people from their countries. I am hoping my country of Sweden will do the same. They have gang members. They have MS-13. They have bad people, terrorists in Sweden. Malmö to Stockholm that have caused problems in Sweden. Burning down railroads, burning down apartment buildings in Sweden. Yes, that's what they're doing. They're burning down police cars and ambulances in Sweden. They're doing this all over the world. Every country needs to send these people packing and get rid of them. All over the world. We need to turn this illegal immigration off. We need to stand up for principles in this country. Now, There have been people here in the chat that have said things that I don't approve of. Number one, if you think you're going to swear in this chat room, you're wrong. If you think you're going to come across and come at me or any one member of our EMA family that are here, or you attack our mods, I will personally remove you from this chat, and you'll never be allowed to be here again. You won't be allowed to be here again. Somebody just said praying won't get anything done. It will help. Praying does help. But I'm going to say this, and I've said it before. The Lord will only bless us if we do what the Lord wants us to do. The reason this country is in the way it is and other countries are in the way they are in is because they have turned away from the Lord. They have turned away from God. That's why these countries, our country included, are in the position we are in. We need to put people in position to stand up for our rights, to stand up for our constitutions in our countries. We need to stand up for the police officers. We need to stand up for our first responders, and we're not doing that. We are not doing that. That has to change. During the past 4 years, here in the United States and other countries, we've seen terrorists attack our cities. We've seen terrorists attack our governments, burning buildings down, killing people, raping people. Guess what? It has happened, and it's still happening. This has to come to a screeching halt. In Washington and Oregon, they started turning it off. Washington took back its streets from the terrorists that took Washington streets over. Oregon pretty much did the same thing, but a little less effective, because the terrorists in Oregon still run Oregon. And the Democrat communists in Oregon still run Oregon. However, guess what? The people in eastern Oregon don't want to even be part of Oregon. They are trying to secede from Oregon and be part of Idaho. There are actually more people in Oregon than what the governor in Oregon thinks. They don't want to be part of Oregon. The area of Portland and other major cities along the coastline of Oregon will stay as Oregon. But the eastern part of Oregon doesn't want anything to do with that. Now, they don't have to be Republican to secede from Oregon. You don't have to be Republican, but you must have some morals. You must have some standards, and stand by what you say. Stand by your beliefs. You have to. It's mandatory to stand up for what you believe in. We have 57 likes here on this channel so far. I would also urge all of you that are here to show that you like this channel. You enjoy what we're talking about. YouTube needs to see that, because otherwise YouTube will not allow this channel to be seen by anybody else on YouTube. All of a sudden, the number of people watching this channel just dropped to 95. Again, that's rather unfortunate. It was up over 100, now we're dropped to 85. I'm sorry if I have offended any of you, but we need to stand up for our rights. We need to stand up for our countries. We need to stand up for our citizens. We need to stand up for our families, our neighborhoods. If you're not willing to do that, get out. Get out of this country. We don't want you, and nobody else will either. Okay? Nobody else wants you either. I'm just telling you. I'm standing up for what I believe in. I'm standing up for all of you. I'm standing up for this country. The number of people still is dropping from this channel. I'm sorry about that. But I am talking realistically. I'm talking very realistically. Sleeping Volcanoes, who is one of my mods here in this chat, said Trump did not attack the White House. No, he did not. Trump did not allow these enemies of this country to come in here. But Joe Biden did. It was not just Joe Biden. It was Barack Hussein Obama. When he took over the country in 2009, he said he was going to transform America. His 8 years in office was the beginning of the end for the United States. Biden was Obama's third term in office. If Hillary had beat President Trump in 2016, Hillary would have been Obama's third term in office. Biden is Obama's third term in office. Who was in the White House on Saturday? Who was in the White House on Friday after the debate? Barack Hussein Obama. Barack Hussein Obama is a puppet master, along with George Soros and other elites of this world. Barack Hussein Obama wants to continue to transform America and turn America inside out. Barack Hussein Obama, Michelle Obama, and every one of the administration of Barack Obama and Biden need to be arrested for treason and put in prison. Every one of Biden's and Obama's administration need to be put in prison. And even some of the congressmen and senators need to be put in prison. They have allowed this country to turn upside down. It cannot continue. It cannot continue. This is an abomination. Abomination. It should never have started and it should not continue now. I'm saying that. Now, I don't care whether you're Muslim. I don't care whether you come from Mexico and are Hispanic. I don't care whether you're European. If you're here in the United States, you're American. You belong here in the United States, and I'm asking all of you to stand up for what your morals and standards are. To turn our country back around. To turn your country in Europe back around. To turn your Canada back around. Turn your Mexico back around. To turn Australia back around. Did you know that the news media in Australia is laughing at us? The news media is laughing at us all over the world. Literally all over the world. The leaders all over this world, the national leaders all over this world are laughing at the United States because of what's going on. We need to turn this off. We, again, need to make sure that the United States is a standard for excellence. The United States is a standard for the world. Obama is not a president. Obama is a laughingstock. He might be the elected president, but he's a laughingstock. There are no leaders in this world that respect him. None. None. Now, I have some other things that I need to talk about tonight. You all know that I was in law enforcement. I was in federal law enforcement. I worked for the government. That is one reason why I can't stand the government. They lied to me. They lied to me. Now, before I go any further, I was going to first start off talking about Hurricane Beryl. We did last night, and I wanted to start off tonight, and I'm sorry that didn't happen. I'm going to talk about Hurricane Beryl, and then I'm going to talk about my career in law enforcement and what it means, and what we should have here in the United States in terms of law enforcement, and what it means to be a law enforcement officer no matter where you're at. no matter where you're at. You should be standing up and have respect for law enforcement. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. Just a second here. I want to show you some pictures of the hurricane. I want to show you what has happened. Hurricane Beryl is a very active hurricane. It's now the strongest hurricane on record at this time of year. The strongest hurricane on record this time of year. It's huge. I'm telling you, it's huge. Now, I want to show you this picture here. This is important. Look at this. Look where this hurricane is today. This is just off the coast of South America. It's come through Grenada. It came out from the Leeward Islands over here. This is where it started. It started as a tropical depression, and then it became a tropical storm and became a Category 1 hurricane way over here to the east. Right about here, it became a Category 4 hurricane. Last night, just after 10 p.m. last night, it became a Category 5 hurricane with winds up to and including 165 miles per hour. 165 miles per hour. Okay? It's a huge hurricane. Look at the cloud base. Look at the cloud base out away from the hurricane. All the way out here north of Puerto Rico, north of the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. The cloud base is all over the place. The cloud base is north of Puerto Rico here. This is Puerto Rico. The outer bands of the hurricane have been hitting Puerto Rico for now 2 days. The hurricane is spinning off the coast of South America right here. Look at the well-defined eye. Look at the well-defined eye here. It's huge. It's huge. Okay? It's as big as the state of Texas. This hurricane is as big as the state of Texas. Now, it could get larger. It could get much larger. As this hurricane continues to spin, it's going to come over here north of South America, and it's going to spin over here in the Dominican Republic and over here in Haiti. It's going to cause a lot of flooding. Storm surges of up to 20 feet high. 20-foot high storm surges, as they've seen over here in Puerto Rico. It's going to inundate the Dominican Republic and Haiti. More people are going to die. I'm not going to show you videos because I do not want to get a copyright strike. But the videos have told the story in the Leeward Islands, where the hurricane started. Complete and utter destruction over in the Leeward Islands. That is what we're seeing here in Puerto Rico. We're going to see it here in the Dominican Republic starting tonight into tomorrow. This hurricane is going to continue to go westbound here in the Caribbean Sea. It's going to reach over here to Jamaica. It's going to reach over here to Jamaica. Then it's going to go further west over here to the Cayman Islands. Over here to the Cayman Islands. Then it's going to go over here into the Yucatan Peninsula around Mexico. Yucatan Peninsula, Honduras, and Belize. Belize is where our dear friend Larry Smith used to live, where his family still is, and the people that helped him establish his ranch here. They are boarding up their ranch to survive the hurricane when it comes through here. The hurricane will be a Category 5 hurricane when it hits here in the Yucatan Peninsula. I'm warning everybody. This is an international program. This program is seen internationally all over the world. We have people in Mexico that watch this program. We have people here in Jamaica that watch this program. We have people in the southern side of Cuba. Yes, the United States has a military base here in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. We have people that watch this program here. We have people that watch this program over here in Puerto Rico and over here in the U.S. British Virgin Islands. We have people that watch this program here in South America. We have people that watch this program in Europe, all over Europe. I'm talking about this because people's lives are in danger. People's lives are in danger. Even the people here in Cuba under communist rule, their lives are in danger by this hurricane. Now, I want to show you another slide here. And again, this is important. And that is saying Belize is also where Fannie Willis went. And that's possible. Fannie Willis has been all over, including Jamaica. I have no respect for her either. I want to show you the hurricane track. This is the hurricane track here. Again, this is a Category 5 storm. It may also be gaining strength. It may also be gaining strength. Right now, I understand the winds are down to 155 miles an hour. It's been upwards of 165 miles an hour. Tuesday at 1 p.m. was 155 miles an hour. It's proceeding north here. Or west, it's going to hit the Dominican Republic and Haiti here. It's going to also hit Cuba. It's also going to hit Kingston, Jamaica. It's going over here to hit the Yucatan Peninsula. This is Friday, 1 a.m. Cancun and the entire Yucatan Peninsula here in Mexico. Saturday, 1 a.m. It's going to be back here in the Gulf of Mexico. Saturday, 1 a.m., they say it's going to be downgraded to a tropical storm here in the Gulf of Mexico. However, after it passes over this landmass, after it passes over the Yucatan Peninsula, it's going to be out over water again, warm water. These kinds of storms gain strength again once they get back out over water. This can very easily become a Cat 1 or a Cat 2 hurricane. This is easily going to hit Texas, the southern end of Texas and eastern Mexico here, very easily. Now, with that said, excuse me, I'm sorry I sneezed in your ear. I didn't mean to do that. Sage Pup says a projected track can change direction. You're absolutely right. What I'm going to show you now are the spaghetti models, what they call the spaghetti models, the computer models where this hurricane could go. I want you to be very concerned about what's going on. These are the projected models. They call them spaghetti because it looks like spaghetti. Like I said, right here is where the hurricane is now, hitting San Juan, Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic. Today into tomorrow, it'll hit the Dominican Republic and over here in Haiti. The hurricane could go directly over here into Central America. It could. Some computer models have it going over here through Central America and out here into the Pacific. A lot of the models, as you can see, have it projected to go over the Yucatan Peninsula. However, some models have also had it projected to go just north of the Yucatan Peninsula and Cancun, and right directly into Texas. Right directly into Texas here. Okay? There's also some models that have it going up here into the northern Gulf of Mexico. Into the northern Gulf of Mexico and head directly for Arkansas and Louisiana. Arkansas and Louisiana. If this happens, the northern Gulf of Mexico and all of the southern states here will be inundated by hurricane force winds. Category 2 or Category 3 hurricane force winds, as this hurricane goes from a tropical storm here all the way out here into the Gulf of Mexico, and again over warm water and picking up strength and hitting the southern United States with a huge blow. At least a Category 1 to a Category 3 hurricane here in the southern United States. But it is going to hit here, at least right now they're projecting a hit here in eastern Mexico and southern Texas, Brownsville, Texas. I'm asking all of you, like I said last night, you all need to get prepared. I am tired of telling everybody to be prepared. You need to be prepared all the time. You need to make sure your gas tanks are full of gas. You need to make sure your emergency preparedness kits are ready to put in your car and get out of Dodge. If you're not going to leave, you also need to make sure your home is centered and very strong, turned into a fortress to stand up to hurricane force winds and rain. Because Texas and eastern Mexico are going to be inundated with storm surge. 12 to 20 foot wall of water coming into eastern Mexico and southern Texas. Upwards of a 20-foot wall of water, a storm surge. This happens every time we have a hurricane. Again, Don Patoka said this last night in the chat. I'm going to repeat it. If you're scared, maybe you should be. If you're not prepared and have yourself squared away, you should be terrified. If you're not prepared now and this happens, you should be terrified. Some folks that don't prepare for future events usually do normalcy bias. Oh, it's not going to hit me. Well, guess what? This hurricane will hit. And those of you that have been sitting on your duffs thinking it's not going to hit you, you're sadly mistaken. You are sadly mistaken. And if you're scared, maybe you should be. I'm asking everybody now to prepare for what's going to happen. Prepare for what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen on Friday. I don't know what's going to happen on Saturday, but the computer models give us a different story. We need to be prepared, and we need to be prepared right now. This is going to be one of the worst storms ever. One of the worst storms ever. A Category 5 right now, and as it still continues across the Caribbean here, it may get worse. It has the potential to get worse. You need to prepare, and you need to prepare now for the worst. And hopefully, you come away smiling at the end of it. You come away a better person, a better prepared person. You should be concerned. You should be worried, not scared. Don't be paranoid. Get into preparation mode right now and stay there. Don't ever stop preparing. Make sure you have food. Make sure you have at least 2 weeks of food. And once you have 2 weeks, make sure you have 4 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 6 months, a year worth of food and water. Make sure you have plenty of water here as well. You need to have water. You can't get away for 3 days without having water. Make sure you have plenty of food and water, and also clothing. and strong-soled shoes or boots. Proper clothing and strong-soled shoes and boots. Okay? You may also consider having a solar lantern, a flashlight at least, and also a AM/FM weather radio. An AM/FM weather radio. You need to get prepared, and you need to do it now. You need to get prepared, and you need to do it now. Does anyone have any questions about anything I've said so far? I will continue updating you about this hurricane. I was actually trying to plan on coming on this morning, but things didn't happen that way. I wanted to tell you when that hurricane turned a Category 5 just after 10 o'clock last night. I decided not to come back on the air late last night because it's not harming anybody out there in the Caribbean Sea. But now it is. Now it is. Okay? Now, I want to get back to what I was talking about a few minutes ago. Again, our viewers have dropped to 91. We were up over 100 just a few minutes ago, and now we're at 91 viewers. I guess nobody cares about preparing. I guess nobody cares about the strength of the hurricane or the depth of the hurricane and what it's going to do. Now we dropped to 84 people watching this program. That's sad. As I stated before, I was a federal law enforcement officer. I spent 24 years in federal law enforcement. I spent 24 years in federal law enforcement. A long time. A long, long time. Folks, I'm dead serious about this. You need to be concerned. You need to be very concerned. When I was in law enforcement, I spent a great deal of time trying to earn people's respect. I spent a great deal of time doing things to help people. A great deal of time. I'm still doing that now. I left law enforcement in 2009. Folks, it's the greatest career ever. I'm telling you right now, if you're ready. But I spent a long time trying to gain people's respect, trying to become a good cop, which I was, because I was a good man. I still am. I'm still trying to earn people's respect. I'm still trying to be the kind of person that you would want me to be. I'm trying to be the kind of man that you could see out there on the street today. I'm no longer on the street. I haven't worked the street since 2009. I have on occasion put the uniform on. I have taken my patches off my uniform. I've taken my patches off the uniform. I no longer wear the uniform at all. I still have the badge. I have great respect for the badge. One of my lieutenants and my captain gave me my badge when I left San Diego. My federal badge that I was given in Denver, they took back. Obama took it back. Obama was the president in 2009. He released federal law enforcement. He cut back on the federal budget, cutting federal law enforcement pay. Cutting federal law enforcement pay. I was one of many law enforcement officers that were released from federal law enforcement in 2009. I was actually enjoying knowing that I was no longer going to have the uniform on day after day. Because every day that I was in law enforcement, every day that I put on the uniform, every day that I put on the badge and walked outside the house, I wondered whether I was going to come back. I really wondered whether I was going to come back. There are a heck of a lot of law enforcement that never come back. They're never able to see their children. They're never able to see their wife, their children, their family. Because some dirtbag on the outside cut their career short. Some dirtbag on the outside cut their life. They're no longer breathing. They're no longer able to physically love their children, their wives, and their family because some dirtbag took that away from them. I worked hard gaining the public's respect. We had 3 dirtbags in our department. The chief of police, a sergeant, actually 2 sergeants. Rabbit hole, it doesn't matter what federal agency I work for. I was a federal police officer, a GS-083 federal police officer. Look it up. Look up what GS-083 means. It means a federal police officer. And I have the paperwork to prove it. I have the pictures to prove it. Now, like I said, I worked my butt off to gain respect from the people I worked with and the people I worked around. The people outside the department. We had 3 dirtbags in our department. Both sergeants were fired. Both sergeants end up being fired for wrongdoing. One sergeant hurt a civilian. One sergeant pulled a traffic stop on a doctor. Why am I telling you this? Because you need to know what dirtbags do. There are dirtbags in every department. The sergeant pulled over a doctor. The doctor was talking to the hospital. The sergeant told him to put down his phone. He said he was on the phone with the hospital. He refused to put his phone down. Guess what? The officer reached over into his car, grabbed the phone off the officer's ear, and threw it out to the street, busting it in a million pieces. That is what that dirtbag sergeant did. Guess what? Rabbit Hole is asking why I want to answer what agency. It doesn't matter a doggone thing about what agency it was. I was a GS-083 federal police officer, and that's all you need to know. That dirtbag sergeant grabbed that doctor's phone and busted it into a million pieces. Then he grabbed that doctor and dropped him through the window, dropped him on his head on the pavement, causing further injury. Guess what? I was a backup officer. I was his backup. I was asked to back him up, but I cannot and will not ever back up an officer like that. That officer did wrong. I told him that I would take care of the scene, but he needed to drive immediately to the police department and turn himself in to the captain. He was immediately fired once the truth of the matter came out. He tried to put me down. He tried to say that I was doing wrong by not backing him up. Yes, I was his backup officer. I was his backup. But I could not stand for him to do what he did. He met a doctor out on the street. He grabbed that doctor's phone and smashed it into a million pieces. Then he caused injury to the doctor because the doctor did not follow everything that officer did. And he was a sergeant. He was someone that people should have looked up to. Before then, I caught him in wrongdoing. He got his hand slapped. That's all that happened. He got his hand slapped. But this time, he didn't just get his hand slapped. He lost his job. Rabbit hole, I don't have to answer your question. Just take it for what it's worth. I've actually shown you and everyone else, well, not possibly you, but I've shown my picture in uniform several other times during the 5.5 years I've been on the program. Okay? Been there, done that. I don't have to have any more proof than that. But what I'm saying, I tried to gain people's respect even when there were dirtbags on the street, including 2 sergeants and the chief of police. Those 2 sergeants lost their job. The chief of the police quit. We forced him to quit. We had a warrant for his arrest, a federal warrant from a federal judge. A federal warrant from a federal judge that issued the warrant for his arrest. The assistant chief prosecutor in San Diego told us, you deliver this warrant, but you give him the chance to take his retirement and walk away. The assistant chief prosecutor in San Diego gave us the opportunity for that chief of police to take his retirement and walk away. And that's what he did. Otherwise, we were told to lock him up right there and put him in jail. We gave the chief of police that option, and he took the option to leave and never come back. Okay? There are bad cops in every department, even chiefs of police. That happens. And some of you have even told me about police officers in your area. No, Leroy, I was not working for SEAL Team 6. I had met SEAL Team 6, members of SEAL Team 6. I met many SEAL teams in San Diego, because that is where SEAL teams are trained. Coronado and San Diego. Okay? I worked with the SEAL teams in various capacities, but I was not members of the SEAL team. Anyway, getting back to police officers. I've also done talks when I was a cop and after I was a cop. I've done preparedness talks as well. I want to play for you a video now of an officer from Arizona, a retired officer from Arizona. Why? Because this officer is telling the truth about what he's saying here. His name is Jack McLam. Officer Jack McLam. Right there. I want to play this video for you so you'll understand where I'm coming from.
That another first was coming my way. I was summoned out to Sun City, Arizona in this uniform. My I guess it was my 5th year with the Phoenix Police Department, 4th or 5th, right in there. I had caused several national police programs to be born and used across the United States. I had created a few police programs, one called the Officer Friendly Program, where police officers would go into elementary schools and educate young people how to play safe and those type of things, stranger danger and all those things. Well, I had created that program for my beat area only. We had a serious communication problem with these young kids. They would see us arresting their mothers and fathers, and they hated us. They didn't know why, but their moms and dads and brothers and sisters would often say, these people are the devil. And it hurt me because I loved these little kids. They were wonderful little kids, many of them. So I created a program. I asked my sergeant, Sergeant, can I go into the schools on my beat area in uniform and try to make friends with these little kids? And he was a black sergeant, had a smile that would just melt the ice off the ice caps. He had a beautiful big smile, this black sergeant of mine, wonderful fella. And he looked at me when I said that and says, Jack, have you looked in the mirror? He said, you want to go into this Hispanic project, you want to go into this black project, into the elementary schools in uniform, in police uniform as a white guy, and you want to try to make friends with the kids? And he laughed. He laughed the biggest laugh. And I said, Sergeant, I'm serious. We were having a bad problem. Kids were throwing rocks and bottles at our police cars when we drive into the projects, and we were losing a lot of police equipment, much less the officers being injured by these flying projectiles. And I said, Sergeant, I really mean it. I want to do it. He says, Jack, I'll ask the chief if you can do it, but you're going to have to do it in your own time because we're busy. And he's right. That was the high crime area. We were busy. We worked overtime. We were busy all the time. I said, I'll do it in my off-duty time. He says, I'll ask the chief. And he did. And the chief, I guess, kind of thought it was funny, too. But he says, well, let's throw McLam out there to see what happens. No skin off our back. So I did. I remember the first day I had a briefcase like this, but I had divided that briefcase in half. And on this half of the briefcase, inside, there was a live little snake that I named Sneaky Snake. And on the other side of the briefcase, separated from little Sneaky Snake, was a little live alligator named Alley-oop. And I shut my briefcase and I went to the schools. Not knowing what kind of reaction I would cause in an all-black school with that little snake and that little alligator, or the Hispanic schools. But I had an idea, and I prayed a lot. I said, Lord, protect me. So I went into my first classroom, and I was talking to the kids, and they were not communicating with me. They kind of sat in the back of the room. They were afraid of me because I was the devil. I had arrested their mothers and fathers, some of these children, and their brothers and their sisters. And they saw no good reason for me to be in that classroom until I opened that briefcase and pulled out little Sneaky Snake. Well, the instant I did that, we lost temporarily one of the biggest, friendliest, sweetest black female teachers as she ran screaming from the classroom when I pulled my little live snake out of my briefcase. She really thought she had brought the devil to her classroom. And she's peeking in the window from outside like this, you know, wondering what I was going to do to her children. And I introduced him to little Sneaky Snake, and he was a doll. He would just slither all around me, you know, and down my arms and back up the other arm. Neat little snake. And the kids were fascinated by Sneaky Snake. And they came closer, and they came closer. And then I produced little Alley-oop, the little live alligator that swore when he was only 6 inches long that he could eat my whole body. Snap, 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 snap. And I pulled him out and kind of wrestling with him, and the kids loved little Alley-oop. And after I did that, we had a great time together. I was able to tell the kids about how to play safe and about stranger danger and how animals react when they get scared and how animals react when they see fear, when they feel fear. And the children began to learn from this old white cop from Virginia. And before long, the teachers were just amazed. This was the first police officer that the kids really liked, and they named me Officer Friendly. I didn't think up the name. The teachers did. And all of a sudden, our crime rate with children fell down. It fell off. Our police cars were safe once again to go into those neighborhoods because the kids would run up to the cars of the police officers and say, is Alley-oop in there? Is Sneaky Snake in there? Is this Officer Friendly? And the officers at first were scared because the kids would usually throw rocks and bottles, but now they were storming the police cars, and the officers at first thought they were being attacked. But the kids had big smiles on their face instead of rocks and bottles. And so the chief was pleased because the damage to police equipment went down to almost zero in the projects. And so the Lord put me in the right place at the right time, and I still didn't know why. I didn't know why. But it worked. It's such a simple thing. And the Sears Roebuck Foundation heard about it, and they came around and asked me if I would put it on videotape, if they could come into the classrooms and video it. I started off on my beat area, but then the chief asked me to train other officers in other beat areas, and before long we had all the officers trained in the city of Phoenix to do the officer-friendly program. Sears Roebuck Foundation heard about it, liked it, and they asked if they could do a national program, and they did, and it went all over the United States. So this is one of the things the Lord put me in the right place at the right time. So my career potential was fantastic. I was told if I kept doing the things I was doing, I'd be chief of police one day. And I thought, hallelujah, that's wonderful. I'd love to be chief of police. And the reason in the back of my mind I wanted to be chief of police is because some of the things I was being asked to do as a Christian, and some of the things I was being asked to do as a person who had sworn an oath to protect the Constitution, the people's liberties, and their rights, did not make me feel very good when I'd go home at night. Some of the things I was being asked to do, for some reason, would make me feel bad. But they must be right, or the government wouldn't be asking me to do it. That's the way I thought at that time. They must be right. We're doing important work out here on the streets. We're helping people. We're saving them. So if we have to hurt that person right there to save the whole, I guess it must be right. If we have to hurt you, ma'am, it's not we don't like you. It's just that we got to look at the majority. We've got to look at the whole as more important than the individual. I didn't know that this was part of Lucifer's plan for our nation. That was 180 degrees away from what the Founding Fathers gave us in this country. The Founding Fathers said if you want to protect the whole, if you want to protect the majority, you protect every one of his rights. You protect every one of her rights. You protect every one of her rights, his rights, and what happens? The whole is protected. Okay. But I didn't know that at that time. You see, I had been indoctrinated too. I had gone through the government brain laundry, like many of you. I had gone through the military, like many of you, and I had gone through a police academy, like some of you. And I was conditioned not to know what was wrong, why I went home at night sometimes, and in my heart I didn't feel good about what I did that day. Because I thought it must be good. We're doing important work. We're there when people need us some of the time. So it must be okay. And I must be wrong by feeling bad about some of the things I was being asked to do. But I want you to know that I've received the highest honors from the Phoenix Police Department in the community of Phoenix, Arizona, became the most highly decorated officer, but I was about to win another award that was being prepared for just me. That night in Sun City, Arizona, I was talking about 35 people. They were retirees, wonderful people that were trying to protect their community there in their retirement center in Phoenix, Arizona, or actually Sun City, Arizona. Wonderful group. I was giving a talk on crime prevention. in this police uniform. They had heard about my success in Phoenix. I created some crime prevention programs. We had set up over 100 block watches at the time. Block watches were just starting in police work, and they had been working very well, and I had been called out to Sun City to talk to a group of senior citizens about how they could protect themselves in their neighborhood. I was addressing this group, and in the back of the room, I saw a little man, a little frail old gentleman.
This is important.
Sleeping. Well, he was just really taking it easy. He looked like he was about 85, 90 years of age, and I thought, doggone it, I don't see any problem with that. Sometimes when I speak, I almost fall asleep. You know? So he was sleeping away, and I finished about an hour program, and I said, are there any questions? And guess what? His little bony arm was the first one to go up. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, well, he's been asleep the whole time. What could it possibly have as a question? I figured maybe he had to be excused to go to the restroom. He's waving his hand. So I said, yes, sir, do you have a question? And the first word out of his mouth kind of hit me right in the face. He said, now I'm here in police uniform. I'm looking bad. I'm an authoritarian. I'm looking like somebody important. And he says to me, Sonny? Sonny. He called me Sonny. And I said, yes, sir. What's your question? And he said, Sonny, do you take an oath? Ooh, I didn't know what was coming. I didn't know. I said, well, of course I take an oath. Every police officer takes an oath. And he says, Sonny, can you tell me what was in that oath? And I thought, this is strange questions. Never been asked these things before. And I said, well, let me think. Now, I took it when I was in the military, and my police oath was very much the same. It said something about, I swear to protect the Constitution of the United States, defend it from all enemies, foreign and domestic. I swear to protect the rights and the liberties of the people, their person, and their property. Something like that. And he said, Sonny? I said, yes, sir. He says, one more question. And I said, yes, sir. What's the question? I thought, now he's getting down to business. Now he's getting down to business. What's your question? And he says, do you know the law? And I said, I'm thinking to myself, what's wrong with this? Am I missing something here? I said, sir, I just talked about the law for an hour. I said, now see, I knew he's sleeping. I said, I think I know the law. No one knows all the law because it's changing all the time. I said, but ask your question. What's your question? He says, so you know the law? And I said, yeah, sir. Give me your question. What do you want to know? And he says, what's the Sixth Amendment to the Bill of Rights? Ooh. I thought for a minute. I had no idea. I had no idea why he was asking such a stupid question. And he says, I said, sir, I don't know. He says, what's the Eighth Amendment to the Bill of Rights? And I'm an Irishman, you see. And when I start getting embarrassed, my face gets red, I mean really red, and I start sweating. And I started feeling this flush coming over my face. I had these people eating out of the palm of my hand. I mean, it had gone good for an hour, see? And who is this guy? I said, sir, I don't know what the Eighth Amendment to whatever you said. I don't know what you're talking about. He says, what's the 10th Amendment to the Bill of Rights? What's the 4th Amendment to the Bill of Rights? What's the 5th Amendment to the Bill of Rights? Now, I knew that I had the 4th and 5th Amendment in the police academy, but I couldn't think of what they were. I was too embarrassed. I was too rattled. And I said, sir, stop. I said, I don't have the answers to your questions. I said, ask me something about what I was talking about tonight. What is with this guy? And then he gave me the coup de grace. He was waiting for this. This was where he was going the whole time. Oh yeah, oh yeah. He said to me, Sonny, how can you protect my rights and my liberties and the Constitution if you don't even know what they are? How would you have felt? How would you have felt? I was destroyed. This man, this evil, evil entity that Satan must have sent into that meeting, surely it was the devil sent this man into that meeting. I am somebody. I'm Officer Jack McLam. I'm officer friendly across the nation. I am a neat guy. I didn't deserve this, Lord. I said, Lord, I'm not a bad guy. Why did you send this guy in here, Lord? You know, I just knew that the devil had something to do with that. And so I said, sir, I have no idea. Is there any other question? All I could say is there any other questions? And the place was totally silent. And finally somebody raised their hand and asked me some other questions because they knew this man had drilled a hole and stuffed me in it, you know? I was Mr. Big Shot. I was the best in law enforcement. I was known across this nation. I could touch nothing that didn't work. I mean, everything the Lord let me do worked. I don't know why. I don't know why. I have a high school education. You know, I flunked out of English more than anybody you'll ever know in your life. You know, the teachers voted me the most likely to collapse in life, self-destruct in life. And there was no reason for me to be doing the things I was doing. I wasn't prepared to do the things I was doing, but everything I touched was working. Now, why did this man come into my life? Well, I left that meeting that night, folks, and I was really in a bad mood. I can't tell you how bad a mood I was in. I was angry at that little old man. I couldn't understand why he would want to do that to me. I was embarrassed. It was terrible. First time I'd been embarrassed in front of a group of people. And I went home fussing and just saying things to myself and talking to the Lord all the way back to Phoenix, saying, Lord, I don't understand it. You know, why did this happen to me? Poor me, poor me. And for one solid month, folks, this old hard-headed Irishman couldn't understand the man's points because I was too mad. I was too upset. I had a bad feeling in my heart for this old gentleman. And my sergeant noticed my change in attitude. He says, Jack, what's the matter? You're always upbeat. You're always happy. You're always go, go, go. You're always on top of it. What's wrong with you? And I told him this story. My sergeant didn't understand it either. He says, why, that cantankerous old man, you know? Well, a month, I was praying every night, Lord, take this vengeful heart from me. Take this bad ill will I feel for this old gentleman. Take it away from me. As a Christian, I shouldn't have these feelings. This is really bothering me. And I didn't know why. I should be able to forget it, but I couldn't forget it. And it took 30 days before I woke up one morning, and it was just like the old mule getting hit over the head with a 2x4. The Lord just cracked me on top of the head, and I woke up in bed one morning, and I had the answer. I had the answer, and I didn't like it. I didn't like the answer. The answer was I was wrong, and he was right. I should have known my oath of office. Why was I told to take an oath of office that I knew nothing about? How could I hope to be successful at protecting the Constitution, protecting people's rights and liberties, if I don't even know what it is? And I swore to that oath twice in my lifetime. And I went to work that day and I said, Sergeant, I got the answer. I said, this man, that I've been fretting about, he was right. We're wrong. We are violating people's rights. We're violating people's liberties. We're doing bad things to people. And my sergeant looked at me and his eyes got big and he said, Jack, settle down. He says, what's the problem? And I said, Sergeant, why did you make me swear an oath to something I knew nothing about? And my fine sergeant, he's a good man. He looked at me funny like and he said, Jack, that's just the way we do it. And I looked back at my sergeant. I said, Sergeant, that's a bad answer. That is a real bad answer. I said, I'm going home tonight, and I'm going to get a copy of the Constitution. I'm going to get a copy of the Bill of Rights. I didn't even know the Bill of Rights was part of the Constitution. I didn't know. What do we know? We just go to government schools. We don't know this stuff. I'm going to get these things. I'm going to read them for the first time. And he says, go, Jack, go, do it. I don't care. Do it. And he was a little aggravated with me. He didn't see the point. He hadn't spent 30 days wrestling with this in his bed at night like I had for some unknown reason. I went to my local library, and it took them 30 minutes to find me a copy of the Constitution. They hadn't been asked for it in so long. I didn't think anything of that at this time, but it amazed me later to think that they had trouble finding a copy of the U.S. Constitution in our library in South Phoenix. And I took it home, folks, and I read it for the first time as an adult. And I'm telling you, I was awestruck. I was amazed at what was in that document. If you have not read those documents, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and those first 10 amendments in the Bill of Rights, you are in for a shock. You are going to be amazed what is in there. And I was amazed. I was shocked, matter of fact, because I had the proof now that I was a violator. I was a violator. I was a criminal in many cases where I was told to do things for the good of the majority, done things for the good of the whole of society. I had done things to protect the system because, of course, the people don't understand the system, and we have to do things to the people at times to protect the holy, most important system from the people. And now I knew, because I had read these God-inspired documents that our founding fathers had left as a legacy to the American people. And I went out of there that night, and I went back to work, and I said to my sergeant, I took the Constitution, and I showed it to my sergeant. I said, Sergeant, do you know what's in here? Do you know what this is? And he looked at it, he says, Jack, it's a Constitution. I said, Sergeant, do you know what's in it? And he says, well, of course I know what's in it. Of course I do. I knew he didn't. I knew he didn't. I said, Sergeant, one question, just one question. Are we supposed to live by our oath of office? And he says, why, of course, McLan, we're all supposed to live by our oath of office. It's very important. And he gave me this little speech about the importance of our oath of office. And I said, that's what I wanted to hear, Sergeant. I'll see you later. And I went out on my beat with my Constitution. There it is here. There's my Constitution that I carried with me on my beat for all of those years. Little pocket Constitution. He told me I could live by my oath of office, and I believed my sergeant would never lie to me. I saw my lieutenant the next few days, and I said, Lieutenant, look at this. Do you know what this is? And he says, Jack, it's the Constitution. I said, do you know what's in it, Lieutenant? And he says, why, of course I know what's in it. I knew he didn't. I knew he didn't. I knew it. I saw my captain at the precinct. He's a commander. I said, Commander, look at this. Look what I have. And he looked down and he saw the Constitution. He says, yeah, Jack, it's the Constitution. So what? I said, Captain, do you know what's in it? And he seemed offended. And he says, of course I know what's in it. I said, Captain, let me ask you a question. Are we supposed to live by our oath of office as police officers? And oh my goodness gracious, you should have seen the reaction of that man. He believed in us upholding our oath of office. He gave me such a speech, it would have brought tears to your eyes about the importance of our oath of office. But like Officer McLam, he didn't know what was in these documents that we swore to in our oath of office. He told me, indeed, McLam, you will live by your oath of office, or you will be in serious problem with this department. I said, amen, Captain. Thank you, Captain.
Okay, I'm not going to continue on with that video because I think I made my point. Now I started off showing this video when we had 90 people still watching this program. We now have 65 people still watching this program. I want to make the point here. Officer McLam, his name was Jack McLam, MC, capital MC, capital L-A-M-B. You can go over to YouTube and look up Officer McLam. You can find it. You can find what he had there. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry about the screen, but we're back. Why did I show this video? Because, folks, I was a cop. In the past programs, many of us have said that we took oaths of office when we were in the military. I did not serve in the military. My father told all of our family members to stay out of the military. Told us to stay out. But I joined the police department. I thought it was better for me to serve in the police department because then I could control what's going on around me. How wrong I was. How wrong I was. Why? Because we had negative people. We had 3 people in my department that had to go bye-bye. All 3 people were trying to tell us what to do when they did not know themselves what was going on. They themselves violated people's rights. They themselves violated my rights. They violated people's rights on the street. I told you that story of that one sergeant just to highlight what happened. Because there's officers out there still doing the very same thing. Still doing the very same thing. Every day. Literally every day. Guys, this is important. Now, I wish I had my pocket constitution with me right now. No, it's probably in one of my suit jackets. Why did I play this message for you? I think it's important. It's vitally important we understand it. We need to understand where we're at. We need to stand up for what is true, what is right in our minds, in our hearts, in our communities, in our cities, and in our states. We do not have the right to do what happened with this officer. Be challenged and not know the oath of our office. I was a police officer. I stood for what I thought was right. For 20 years, 24 years, I stood for what I thought was right, and I still do. I'm going to show you a picture of me in just a second. Hopefully 2 pictures of me, so you'll understand where I am today. I took an oath of office. I took an oath of office to stand for what is right. just like the military does. Every military member stands up with his right hand and his arm to the square. I solemnly swear that I, Ronald L. Tyler, will protect to the best of my ability the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I promise to protect my community members. I promise to protect the citizens of the United States. I took that oath willingly, and I said that in the oath. I said that in the oath. Every one of the police officers said that. It's said in the military as well before any military members are allowed in the military. Every person must take an oath. I took that oath and I stand by it today. My oath does not expire. My oath does not expire. And many of you that were in the military, your oaths do not expire. That is one of the biggest reasons I showed you this program today. That man, Mr. Jack McLamb, MC, capital LAMB. You can look it up on YouTube. The video's there. You can probably Google it or DuckDuckGo it, whatever you want. It's there. I was sent this video and I stand by it today. I played it. Now, I may get a copyright strike for doing it. I don't know whether it's copyrighted. But what I'm saying today is it is an example to each one of us. We must know where we stand. If you have not taken an oath, you might as well have taken an oath to protect your families. Your members of your family. You took an oath as a parent to protect your children. As a grandparent, you're still there to protect your children from everyone that might harm them. You need to be aware of what you are and who you are. You need to make sure you're in the right place for the right reason. In the right place for the right reason. Now the people have dropped off to 62 people still watching our program today. That's a sad state of affairs. A very sad state of affairs. Guys, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. Each one of us must stand up for ourselves and who we are. I know what the Constitution says. I have a pocket Constitution. It might... Okay, I'm back. More buffering. I'm back. I've always stood for what I believe in, and I still do. I will stand by it. I will stand up for what you believe in. I will protect you. I will do whatever I need to do my job, to do my duty to God and my country. It says that in the Boy Scout oath. Every person takes an oath, don't we? Every person takes an oath of office. I did as well, and I stand by that. My oath did not expire, even though my tour with the government ended 1 year before I wanted it to, because of a dirtbag President Obama. Yes, I still have no respect for him at all, and I never will, for what he and Joe Biden and other people have done to this country. I don't have any respect for any of them at all. Never happened, never will. I thought I had my picture of me in uniform on my phone. I have had it in the past. I don't know where it went. So I'm going to go to my files here on my computer and pull it up for you. I still stand for honor. I stand for integrity. Yes, in fact, I was a federal police officer. In just a minute, I'm going to show you pictures of me in uniform. I'm going to show you pictures because I want you to know what I stand for. No, I don't have to tell you what agency I work for. Some people think I work for the FBI. Some people think I work for the Secret Service. No, I did not. But I was a federal police officer. At one point in time in Denver, I worked for the Federal Protective Service. Again, a GS-083 federal police officer. I did my job. I swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. So help me God. I did my job. Did I carry around a pocket Constitution at the time? No, I didn't. But I had almost memorized the Constitution of the United States. I had memorized the 10 elements of the Bill of Rights. The first 10 of the Bill of Rights I memorized. The fourth Bill of Rights was the right of search and seizure to be protected. You had a right to have your person and your belongings protected from illegal search and seizure. If a police officer, like this gentleman, Officer McLam said, if a police officer comes to your home without a warrant, and later in that video he talks about having police officers come to his house without a warrant. They have to have a warrant. If it is not signed by the judge, guess what? It's not a valid warrant. It is not a valid warrant. Actually, it wasn't police officers that came to his house. It was the FBI. 2 FBI agents came to his house with a warrant. He asked if the warrant was signed by a judge. The FBI agent produced a watered-up sheet of paper. It had the officers' names, the 2 federal officers, FBI agents. It had their names at the bottom of the warrant, but it was not signed by a judge. Why am I telling you this? Because each one of you need to know your rights, so you're not overrun by bad people. You don't have to give away your office. You don't have to give away your house. You don't have to give away your person just because somebody says you have to. The warrants have to be signed by a judge. Regardless of whether the 2 federal officers have their names at the bottom of it. It has to be signed by a judge or it's not a valid warrant. Yes, there are people, officers out there that are running around purporting to be officers of the law when they have no business being there. They're purporting to be officers of the law when they have no business being there at all. Not now, not ever. Okay? I'm just telling you that. Because there are officers just like those 3 officers in my own department. The police chief, the man every officer should have been looking up to. The man every officer should have been pointing to as someone in authority. We had him fired. I was just one of many other police officers that went and investigated him. And had him removed from office. He had no business being there. He had no business being there, ever. Not now, not ever. And yet there are people out there just like that. There are people out there just like that. Do we stand up for what is right? I hope to shout. I hope you are doing that. That you're not going to let somebody run all over you just because they say they can. Don't ever let that happen. Not now, not ever. I took an oath as an officer. Again, to protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and to protect those other citizens of this country and my community. And I took that oath knowingly, without hesitation. I was not forced. I was not persuaded. I took that oath willingly, knowing what it meant, knowing exactly what that oath meant. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. No, I should never be on the street again. And I'm glad that I'm not on the street. But I took that oath willingly. And yes, I do it again in a heartbeat. Because I believe in what's right. I believe in the Constitution of the United States. I also believe in what we do and why we're doing it. I always have done that. I always have done that. Do you? Do you believe in it? Have you done what's necessary to protect you and your family? Are you doing what's necessary now to try to protect your family and to prepare your family for what's going on? If you're not, you better start. You better start. What is going on in our cities, in our towns, in our country is wrong. It's a violation of our rights. And yet most of us sit back and say, oh, there's nothing we can do about it. Yes, there is. You're darn tootin' right, there is. And if you haven't done it, you better think about it. You better think about it. Because your lives may depend on it. Your lives may depend on it. I'm kidding you not. Your lives may depend on it. I've been violated. I myself have been violated. A police officer, years ago, I was dropping off another police officer at her house. I just dropped her off. I had not pulled away from the curb to go to my own home yet. But two police officers came up behind me, red and blue lighted me, and pulled me out of my car. And patted me down. And they found weapons on my person and in the car. I just gotten off work. These two officers violated my rights and they went to prison. Those two police officers violated my rights and they went to prison. Because I knew who I was. I knew not just who I was, but what I stood for. And the officer came out of her apartment and saw what they were doing to me and stopped them and called them on the carpet. They went to jail. That night they had to turn in their badge, they had to turn in their weapons, and they went to jail. Because they violated my rights. They didn't even bother to find out who I was or what I was doing there. I had only been parked there for less than 5 minutes near that woman's home. I wasn't there for very long. And yet those officers violated my rights. And it's happened since. You need to know the Bill of Rights. Article 4 of the Bill of Rights is search and seizure. The Fifth Amendment to the Constitution, what is that? Your right not to incriminate yourself. To have an attorney present. One of the things the police officer should do when they're arresting you, is to read you your rights. You have the right to remain silent. If you give up that right, anything and everything you say can be held against you in a court of law. You have the right to attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you by the courts. Do you understand your rights as I have read them to you? Yes, I still have it memorized after all these years. Why? Why do I have it memorized for the last 15 years still? I still remember it because I read those rights directly off a sheet of paper every time I arrested anybody. Everybody needs to know their rights. Yet there are police officers that refuse to obey the law. I just told you what your rights are. The right of the First Amendment of the Constitution, what is that? Your right to freedom of speech. The Second Amendment is your right to carry firearms, the right to bear arms, to protect yourselves and your family. Yet there are still people that violate those rights. And in fact, the government of the United States is trying to take away those rights as we speak. Our civil rights are under attack. Do we know what our civil rights are? Do we know what our civil rights are, and what are we doing to protect our rights? What are we doing to protect our rights? I'm asking you, what are you doing to protect your rights? I'm asking. Each of us has civil rights. I have talked about civil rights tonight. Why? Because it's getting to be part of emergencies. Your lives are in danger just as mine are today. I'm asking everybody to make sure you know how to protect yourselves. That you are standing up for what you believe. You're standing up not just for what you believe, but your families. Do you know what that is? Do you know what your family is? What does it mean to you? What does your family mean to you? I'm asking. Do you understand what your family means to you? If you don't, you need to. You need to truly take a look at yourself. Take a look at your family, your children, your grandchildren, your wife or your husband. Do you understand what those people mean? If not, maybe you should. Maybe you need to take a close look at yourself, a close look at your community, a closer look at everybody around you to find out truly who you are. To find out truly who you are. I'm just saying. I want each of you to know who you are. I want each of you to be able to stand up for yourselves. 2 days from now, we're going to celebrate our independence. And as I posted on Facebook the other day, this may be one of the last times we will celebrate our independence. Because slowly our independence is being taken away from us. Slowly our independence is being taken away. What does that mean? What does it mean to you to have independence? What? I'm asking because I believe it's important to ask. It's important to know what our independence means. I've been there, done that. Some people say I wrote the book. I haven't written the book. But I have stood up for what I believe. I have. And I always will. I found one of the pictures that I want to show you. This is a picture of me standing beside my police car in San Diego. I was proud of my uniform. You see the patches on my left sleeve? I had a patch saying I was a United States police officer. That was the top one. The second patch was an accident investigator patch. I was the chief accident investigator for my department. That's what I did. I went to after I was appointed as the chief accident investigator, I went to every major accident. Every major accident. If it involved a school bus, if it involved military equipment or federal vehicles, I was there. Occasionally, I still get called to investigate accidents. Officers send me their reports to look at the reports and find out if there's enough information there to submit the report. And every time that happens, I get paid. I truly loved who I was, and I still do. Again, I don't have to say what agency I work for. It doesn't matter. All that does matter is what I did. I stood up for people's rights. I stood up for officers. I was not just a chief accident investigator. When the department went after any individual officer for any reason, I pulled our attorney who worked for our Police Officers Association, and he and I went to bat for that individual officer. And it happened almost once a week. I stood up for what is right. I stood up for God. I knew the scriptures. We had a man in my department that I greatly admired. Greatly admired. He was our department chaplain as well as a police officer. He went by Robbie. That was his nickname. I won't give you his real name. He had 12 kids and a beautiful wife. He was not just a chaplain and a police officer, but he was also a pastor for his church. I worked with him. I backed him up. We got called out on many occasions to stop people from jumping off of bridges, to help people and save people's lives that wanted to jump out of buildings. Yes, I sat on the side of bridges, helping talk people off of catwalks to try to save their lives. I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. I loved everybody. whether you were a cop or not. I backed you up. I helped you. I protected you. And like I said, I would do it again in a heartbeat. I knew the law. I knew the law. And I exercised that law. There were officers all the time that were getting disciplined by the department. Not for something they did, but for something they may not have done. Sometimes officers got disciplined for what they did and they didn't do anything wrong. I protected them. I protected them. I want to share scripture with you in closing. And yes, I know I'm far off of over 2 hours. I'm sorry about that. And we only have 54 people watching our program now. I'm going over the first chapter of Timothy. The first epistle of Timothy, first chapter, verses 8 and 9. I've read these scriptures to you in the past. These scriptures still have applicability today, tonight. In verse 8, but we know that the law is good, if a man use it lawfully. Knowing this, that the law is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and the disobedient, for the ungodly and for sinners, for unholy and profane, for murderers of fathers, murderers of mothers, for manslayers. The scripture goes on. Paul the Apostle wrote to his friend and colleague Timothy and talked specifically about what the law is made for. He ends this particular passage with verses 11 and 12. According to the glorious gospel of the blessed God, which was committed to my trust. And I thank Christ Jesus, our Lord, who hath enabled me, for that he counted me faithful, putting me into the ministry. The Apostle Paul. Laws are good, but laws are made for specific people for a reason. To protect people from each other. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I came to this program tonight to prove a point. Yes, we talked about hurricanes. We talked about earthquakes extensively, as we do all the time. And I know a lot of people that are not here right now are because we're not talking about earthquakes right now. A lot of people become offended when I go off their topic. But guess what? What we're talking about tonight affects each one of us. It's an emergency. Our world is coming apart at the seams. Our world is coming apart at the seams. We need to stand up and stop it. We need to elect representatives that will help us stop what's going on. We need to turn our hearts and minds to God. We need to bring God back into the forefront of our lives, in our schools, and in our government. Yes, there are governments around this country and possibly around the world that are doing that. But they're doing it far too slow. We need to make it happen now. We need to turn our governments on and make sure we turn our countries around, our communities, our neighborhoods, and our families. May God bless you. Take this message out to the public. Share it frequently. Share it fully around the world. We need to get this message out to everybody. It's not just about the United States, it's about every country in this world. We need to turn this war off. This is a war against every one of us. May God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. God be with you until we meet again. We will be back here tonight. If anything else happens here tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Otherwise, we'll be here tomorrow evening, same place, same bat station, to give you the information you need to survive what's going on. And yes, that's exactly what I mean, survive. God be with you, brothers and sisters, my friends. And yes, I call you my friends. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you soon. God bless.